today is day 52 of the overall module. We are over halfway done with editing your book, which is super exciting. We are going to now take another fairly large chunk, and this is the ramping up to the tentpole phase. This is again another 15 pages or so where the training has ended. So the hero is sort of kind of competent at whatever he was training for. He's not fantastic. He is not a master. Usually the villain does something at this point to poke and prod the group to make it clear that there is a fight coming. The hero has accepted the fact that there's a fight coming, and we begin the ramp up to the tentpole. This may be traveling to the location of the tentpole. This could be gathering weapons, gathering allies. It depends. Again, travels many times in this section. I was just thinking of Fault of Our Stars, where they're getting ready to go to Amsterdam. Now, normally there are multiple obstacles in the hero's way that he can't just go to Amsterdam. She has that attack. The doctors tell her she can't go. We believe that they can't go. And then at the last minute, it is revealed that she is in fact going to Amsterdam, which is where the tentpole will be. So this is not easy. This may be a place where they fight mini bosses on their way to the villain. The villain may be at the tentpole. It may be a major proxy for the villain. That is up to you. But this is definitely a shift, a mental shift in the hero significantly. Before, he didn't want the opportunity, of course. Before, he hated the new life. He didn't want to be here and shouldn't be here, and there was no reason for him to be here. Through the training process and learning more about the villain and learning more about the new world, he has realized that, yes, in fact, a fight is coming and I must take it on. Now, in Fault of Our Stars, it is actually a falsehood of the tentpole is that she thinks it's going to be a great and amazing experience. Just like you can have a false opportunity, you can have a false building to the tentpole. She thinks it's going to be a great thing, and so she's very excited about the tentpole until she gets there and it's a disaster. So you can play this either way, is that we know it's going to be bad and we're in a fight and we're heading towards the tentpole. Or it can be a false tentpole where we think it's going to be good and then it turns out to be bad. Most of the time that is in a softer genre where there's not a physical fight, it's an emotional fight. We may have excitement about the tentpole. We think it's a great thing. We're going to a competition. We think we're going to win, and then we don't. We don't think it's going to be a fight necessarily. We think it's going to be a glorious thing, and then it turns out to be awful. Or in a harder genre that does have physical violence and does have physical fights, usually we're pretty sure this is going to be a fight and we are marching towards it anyway. The hero does not think he's a hero, though. The hero's like, still don't rely on me. Everybody else is relying on him, of course, but he still is not quite ready. He is not the hero yet. He doesn't believe in himself enough yet to be marching towards the tentpole. Now, you may be having physical clashes. You may be even having minor physical clashes with the villain in these ramp up pages because we are getting ready to go. And if this is a really action based book, then you more than likely have multiple action sequences. But again, there's a rise and a fall to this. There is a ramping up. You start small, and then when we get to the tentpole tomorrow, you're going to really bring out the big guns. If you bring out the big guns now, where are you going to go? Right? You have to have somewhere to build to. So always be thinking of the arc. Always be thinking of where you're starting, where you go to, and where you climax out, because of course the tentpole is a mini climax, so this should be really good. The other important thing is that in this section there's different dialogue. As I've said before, you should be able to look at a piece of dialogue and determine not only who said it, which should be obvious and clear if you have defined characters. You should also be able to determine where in what act the dialogue and even the internal dialogue, the prose, came from. Again, he's not a hero yet. He's also not as whiny and reluctant and calcitrant as he has been before. So that should be obvious in your dialogue and your prose. If you look at that and can't tell where it's coming from, it could have easily come from Act 1 or from Act 3. He's too cocky at this point. That is a problem that we need to build. We are in Act 2. We're moving towards the middle of Act 2, in the middle of the book. So he should be kind of sort of reformed. Not completely reformed, but certainly not where he was in the beginning. If we're thinking of a movie 28 Days, I believe, the middle is the main character begins to accept therapy, and that becomes a big deal and kind of rips their heart out. But we're not cured, and we're not ready to go out and live in the world, but we certainly are open to healing. In a soft story, in a hard story, we're going to try and kick the villain's butt. That's not going to work, but that's what we're trying here. Fantastic. I will speak to you tomorrow or whenever you get back after you edit these pages.